Yo, my dear fellow monkeys. I hope you're doing well in times of crisis like this. Follow the health guidelines that have been put out by credible organizations like the CDC or WHO. Okay, so I had initially planned that the video will be just one video with 4 different parts, but given the fact that there is so much information to share about this, I thought I'll either make it into 4 videos or maybe 2 videos with 2 parts in one video and the remaining 2 parts in another video. So the first part is going to be the basics of coronavirus. So I'm mainly going to speak about it from a biological standpoint. Second part of it is just going to be some mythbusters. I've seen a lot of these rumors going around on the internet about how to prevent corona or treat coronavirus using some bullshit treatments. The third part is going to be a discussion about endemic, pandemic, and epidemic diseases. And the last part is going to be getting real about pandemics in general. Okay, so let's move on to the first part of the video. Coronaviruses are a family of viruses in which there are 4 subfamilies: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta coronaviruses. And the recent pathogen, which is COVID-19, causing the disease COVID-19, belongs to beta coronaviruses, and usually beta coronaviruses descend from bats. COVID-19 is a zoonotic disease, which means that it is transferred from animals to humans. It is interesting because for the virus to become a pandemic, there needs to be a lot of different adaptations the virus has to go through before attaining that pandemic potential. First, the virus has to jump from the natural reservoir, in this case it was bats most probably, or the pangolins, to the adaptation host. Before we move on to the next parts, I'll have to clarify what a reservoir and what an adaptation host is. The reservoir is the animal or the living being which harbors the predecessors or maybe the actual virus itself, but it will that is the main source in which the virus has evolved. The adaptation host is a host which the virus jumps onto from the natural reservoir and undergoes mutations in order to be able to jump among these new species, and maybe attaining other mutations to jump to humans also. So the virus has to jump from the reservoir to the adaptation host and has to be able to become transmissible among the new host. That is when it will be called an epidemic in the adaptation host. Due to a variety of reasons, the natural reservoir may come in contact with this adaptation host. For example, in this case, wildlife wet markets were the major reason for the transfer between the reservoir and the adaptation host, and maybe to humans also. And there is a clearly established pattern in terms of SARS, which broke out in 2002-2003 in China, where it started from bats, moved on to civet cats, and then moved on to humans in these wet markets. So once these animals are kept in contact with each other, the virus starts to undergo mutations, and there is a higher likelihood due to sustained contact between these animals for the virus to jump from one species to the other. There are other cases in which this transmission might happen. Another thing before it gains pandemic potential is for the virus to move from the adaptation host to humans. Once that stage is attained, there are 2 ways in which the disease can progress. One is the virus will be infectious, but it will not be extremely transmissible among humans. So that is one path the virus can take, and there are some cases in which the virus has just moved from the animal to humans, and rabies is a clear example of that. It is extremely infectious. It gets transferred from rabid animals to humans, but it is not transmissible amongst humans. In the case of COVID-19 or SARS, what has happened is that from the adaptation host, the virus has moved on to the humans, and it has also become transmissible. So that is the second path the virus can take, wherein it will be extremely transmissible and also highly infectious. The level of transmissibility of the virus and the extent of infection that it can produce determine the extent of damage that the virus can do to humans. So during the SARS outbreak, the disease was highly transmissible and highly infectious. So it was easy to identify who these humans were who were infected with SARS, and we were able to isolate them quickly enough so that it was not transmitted to a lot of humans. And the number of deaths was curbed at approximately 8,100 or something. But in the case of COVID-19, what the problem is that it is transmissible, but it's not highly infectious. So the virus is So humans are passive carriers without even knowing that they are actually infected with the virus. So what happens is they keep continuing to transmit the virus to other people while they're not sick, which means that there is a high level of transmissibility, and the potential losses that we will be looking at in terms of COVID-19 is higher compared to SARS.